What's going on, guys? Jake Verdon Tech here, back with another video. And today we're going to be taking a look at the HyperX Alloy Origin 60, the 60% mechanical keyboard from HyperX. So we're going to be going over all of the features that this keyboard has to offer, along with some of the more technical specs that many of you might be curious about, and my experience with it, and how it's been switching from a full-size keyboard down to a 60% keyboard. So starting off, we're going to talk about why I decided to switch my peripherals up a little bit and why I decided to make the switch to a 60% keyboard, because before this keyboard I did have a full-size Corsair K95 Platinum. And as I mentioned in my video talking about the Logitech G305 Lightspeed, which is the mouse I'm currently using, I wanted something that a set of peripherals that I could move around my desk setup a lot easier. And the 60% keyboard is definitely much easier to move around, whether I want to do some video editing or more immersive gaming on my ultra wide here, or if I want to move it over to my 240 Hz monitor behind me and do some more competitive gaming. The 60% is just so much easier. And as you can see, like, it is super small, me being able to hold it in frame, opposed to the full-size keyboard just takes up so much desk space, and it's really refreshing just having something this minimal on the desk. So that's the main reason why I decided to switch to a 60% keyboard, just versatility and being able to move it around my desk setup a little bit easier. The second reason I decided to switch to a 60% keyboard is when I had my full-size K95 Platinum from Corsair, which was a great keyboard, I really liked it, I didn't use a lot of the keys that are on a full-size keyboard. Like, me personally, I don't usually use like a number pad and some of the other programmable macros on that keyboard I just never use. So I thought downsizing and really freeing up the desk space would be more beneficial to me. And so far, it's, like I said, it's really refreshing having just a 60% mechanical keyboard on the desk. So now talking about the technical specs and this particular keyboard, this is the HyperX Alloy Origin 60 mechanical gaming keyboard from HyperX. Starting off talking about the chassis, it is a aircraft grade aluminum chassis, which feels extremely solid and really gives this keyboard a very nice weight. Speaking in terms of the switches, we have a linear HyperX red switches with 45 grams of actuation force, 1.8 millimeters of travel, and a predicted lifespan around 80 million clicks. For the keycaps, we have double shot PBT keycaps with the printed secondary functions. We also have USB Type-C for the connection type for this keyboard, and it is fully compatible with the HyperX software to customize the RGB and macro key functions, which is HyperX Ingenuity software. Getting super nitty gritty with the specs of a lot of these keyboards really isn't my cup of tea, but there are a lot of YouTubers out there that do a lot of keyboard reviews, that build a lot of their own keyboards and kind of know the ins and out a little better than I do. But I like speaking more in terms of like general use case and how the user experience is to somebody who isn't a particular keyboard connoisseur. I've had this keyboard for about a month now and I absolutely love it. I think the two biggest things that drew me to this keyboard versus some of the other 60% mechanical keyboards out there is the build quality of this one. Just having that aircraft grade aluminum body just feels fantastic. It's got an amazing weight to it, and it just doesn't have a cheap feel to it like some of the other ones out there that I've felt, which I just really like. And especially too, it is a little more assuring, especially if you're traveling with it, moving it around here and there like I am. Just having a more solid build is pretty assuring in my opinion. The second biggest thing that really drew me to this keyboard versus some of the other options on the market for 60% mechanical keyboards is the layout of the secondary functions. Now, this is really important for those of you that aren't real familiar with 60% mechanical keyboards. As you can see, and I'll have some B-roll footage of it, A lot of these keys have secondary functions, and in order to access those functions, there is a function key, and in this case it is at the bottom right corner of the keyboard. So whenever I hit this, I'm able to access those secondary functions. And the second biggest thing that drew me to this keyboard versus others is the location of a lot of these secondary functions, and the biggest one for me is the arrow keys. So the arrow keys are really located in a great spot versus other mechanical keyboards of this size. They're actually all right in this area, so it's extremely easy for me just to take my pinky and have it hover over the function key, enable the arrow keys very easily versus other mechanical keyboards I've used that are 60%. I've seen them where, your function keys somewhere down here and then your arrow keys are way out here. Just very awkward. This makes it pretty easy to get used to. And for me, I use the arrow keys quite a bit, especially in Adobe Premiere when I'm jumping from different cutscenes. And just in daily use, you don't realize how much you use something until it's not as easy to access. But with this keyboard, it's there and very easy to access. Touching a little bit more on the function keys of this keyboard, it definitely doesn't really cut corners and delete a lot of things that you would have on a full size or a TKL size keyboard. You still have a lot of basic functions like page up, page down, end, print screen. Quite a few of those basic functions, and obviously the arrow keys as we mentioned. And then you do have designated media keys and also the keyboard presets that you can customize in the Ingenuity software from HyperX are also accessible on the fly through some of those secondary functions. Another really nice optional touch to this keyboard that I really like personally is it does come when you first order it and pull it out of the box. It has a solid black space bar, but I opted for the topographical pattern space bar, which is translucent and the RGB shines through it. I think it's really cool. I know a lot of people might be kind of over the topographical pattern, but I really like it, so I decided to throw that on. Along with, it just had a regular escape key, but instead I swapped it out for the HyperX logo escape key. So, really cool little touches I think that are really neat that this keyboard comes with that are optional. Talking in terms of RGB on this keyboard, I think it looks really nice, and the HyperX Ingenuity software gives you quite a few options to customize the RGB on this keyboard. Right now I just have it on a regular static color and just like a static orange, but there's a really good RGB color wheel. You can customize different static colors. Then they have all sorts of special effects colors, which are really cool as well. As far as the RGB effects goes, it has everything from breathing, confetti, which is a really cool effect, probably one of my favorites as far as the colors go. We have the color swipe, twilight, which is kind of neat. It's if you prefer a darker RGB that has some randomly changing colors, this is a cool one. The standard rainbow wave, which is enabled by default when you first plug this keyboard in. And sun, which is a really cool warm tones color changing effect. So the RGB on this keyboard, like I said, it looks really nice. You got a wide variety of different colors and effects you can do. Usually I just throw on some type of solid color, and depending on what theme I'm rolling with in my desk setup. But there's a lot to choose from. Maybe not as much as like Corsair IQ and some of the other ones that I've used, but there's quite a few. And the software is really easy to navigate, and it's really easy and straightforward to enable those different RGB settings. The HyperX Ingenuity software also does have a key binding section where you can adjust the different macro functions and the different function keys. This is something I haven't messed with much. I don't know exactly how it works, but I imagine you can change different key bindings and your secondary functions. You can change those up. And from the looks of it, it looks like you can make keys that don't have a secondary function. You might be able to give them some sort of secondary function with the use of the function key. So that's pretty neat. It definitely looks like there's a wide variety of stuff you can do in there. I usually just kind of leave that stuff as default, but for certain games it might be useful to map certain function keys to your particular preference. So that is pretty much going to wrap up this video on the HyperX Alloy Origin 60 mechanical keyboard. Like I said, I absolutely love this keyboard, and I think it's probably one of the best options on the market for a 60% mechanical gaming keyboard. As far as something that you can just purchase as is and get really good performance and just a great feeling, well-made keyboard, I know there's a lot of other options out there too when it comes to customizing and building your own keyboards, but I think for something that you just purchase as is and start using, I think this is a really good option, especially for the price point. A keyboard like this, the HyperX Alloy Origin 60, can usually be picked up for around the $100 price point, which is really good because there's quite a few keyboards in this category that are much more expensive, and I don't feel like the build quality is quite there with this one. So being at the $100 mark for this build quality and these really good red linear switches, which I think makes it one of the best 60% mechanical keyboards on the market. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like on it, and if you want to see more tech related videos like this one, be sure to subscribe. As always guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.